I have got some training material that I want to present to you today on pricing mistakes. This is going to be kind of dovetailing in with what Mike is doing in the practice sessions for pricing for listings. You know, we're in the focus this week is on listings. So I want to talk a little bit about some pricing mistakes that a lot of home sellers, as well as their agents, are making in the marketplace right now and how to avoid those mistakes. But at the same time, we're talking about this from the perspective of sellers. I also want you to think about this is as you are representing buyers and you're evaluating properties. I don't want you to automatically look at the sales price that they have and accept that as the gospel. The agent on the other end that is setting the pricing may be the most incompetent individual on the planet, and they may have no clue how to price a property and are making some of the mistakes that we're talking about, that we're going to talk about in my slide presentation today. So don't just accept the fact that the price that they have listed it for is the gospel, and that in order to be competitive, you have to go in well above that price. That's the goal. That's the objective. That's one of the reasons we have a job. Is part of our value proposition is being able to look at and make recommendations as to whether or not some other agent or some other seller has made the right decisions. Does that make sense? Are we on the same page? Okay. I am going to share my screen, and we're going to share this screen. And I'm going to do this. Okay, is everybody looking at slide presentation, PowerPoint, 7 biggest pricing mistakes sellers need to avoid? Okay, so here's the takeaways from today. Pricing of a home, doing a CMA is both an art and a science. Okay, let me move this off. There, that's better. We need to avoid some of the common mistakes. Houses go up in value, but the stuff in them doesn't. And keep that in mind. We're going to talk about some specifics about that here in just a minute. And so when the market is telling you something, we need to listen. So we're going to look at 6 big mistakes while selecting the opening listing price, and then one huge mistake after going live that we all need to be aware of and try to avoid. Okay, so pricing mistake number 1 is when you're evaluating the comparables, pricing to the unsolds rather than the solds. Okay. Every CMA when you're doing a CMA, you should endeavor to try to look at both. You should have a sample size that includes some active listings but heavily weighted towards sold listings. Okay, so the way I was always taught this was when you're doing a CMA and you're evaluating properties, the ones that are sold are historically accurate because they've listed, they've gotten an offer, and they actually closed. So you're looking at real world history. Okay, when you're looking at comparables that are still active or under contract, that's what the seller wants to get. Doesn't mean that's what they're gonna get. Okay, so that's fantasy world. Solds are reality. Okay. Also, if you look at expireds and sometimes even withdrawn listings, those listings can sometimes tell you what a home will not sell for. Okay, so if you're looking at comparables when you're pricing a home and you see an expired that was on the market for 80 days at 500,000 and everything else in the neighborhood is at 450, pretty good indicator that a home in that neighborhood will not sell at 500,000, right? Okay, so the end result of all of this is pricing strategy should be heavily weighted towards the solds rather than the actives. All right, so again, I always say your average CMA should have 6 to 8 comparables. I would try to have at least one or two of those be actives, but the rest be closed listings. Any questions on that before we move on to number 2? Okay, number 2. Pricing mistakes that sellers, agents, and sellers sometimes make are overvaluing the amenities. A lot of times people will place too much faith in the value of unique amenities. Whether they're unique or not is the question. Unique, things like granite countertops, bathroom fixtures, high-end appliances, a macked out basement with a bar and all those kind of things. There is a term. Don't know that I would throw this out to a seller who you're trying to convince they're overpricing, but it's called the endowment effect, and it's the tendency to overvalue something just because it's something that you own. We've all seen it, right? Well, my house is the nicest house on the entire street, and you look around and you go, "Oh, which street are you on?" So you got to be aware of that, and you got to you got to be able to have the ability to not feed into that as you're dealing with a seller who overvalues because they're the ones that own it. Show them the comparables. Show them the photographs of a comparable home right on the same street that is better than theirs, and go, okay, so this one is in many people's opinion arguably going to be nicer, but yet it's listed for less than what you want to list for. Okay, amenities always do have some value, but it's usually secondary to the location of the home and the size of the home. Okay, trying to get the full value for improvements. So over-evaluating the improvements the sellers have made to the home. Here's the perfect example. Let's say 10 years ago, they bought the home for $500. 5 years ago, they spent $50K redesigning the kitchen. 2 years ago, they spent $25K on roof repairs. So at the very least, even if the home hasn't appreciated in value at all, they should be able to sell the home for $575. Is that a safe assumption? Haven't they improved the house by $75,000 with all the work that they did? And unfortunately, it's not always the case. No one will ever get 100 cents to the dollar for improvements that they put into a home. Time is more of an indicator of the increase in value than the stuff that they have done to the house. There is a cost calculator. Remodeling Magazine on their website has this, and it's a great tool. I think I've got it bookmarked, and sadly I didn't put it in my presentation. I should do that. There should be a link to go cost versus value, and sometimes you can put in a kitchen remodel at $30,000 may not necessarily net you more, exactly $30,000 more. Okay, I call this the HGTV myth. HGTV, people have been trained to think, oh, I'm going to put $15,000 into the master bathroom and automatically my home is worth $15,000 more. It could be, but it's not a guarantee that it is. Okay, if that home's bathroom was 1970s vintage and all you did was bring it up to 90s, the 90s, and everything else in the neighborhood has been brought up to 2022, then you're really not going to get the full value out of that. Does that make sense? Improvements earn approximately, in a balanced market, 60-70% of the cost. These are not Jay's numbers. These are appraisers' numbers and based in reality. Okay. This is probably the biggest one you're ever going to see. Okay. Hey, there you go. Somebody put it up there. Tracy, thank you for doing that. Thank you very, very, very much. pricing according to what the seller needs to get to be able to move on to their next home. Guess what? No one cares what you need to net in order to sell, for you to move into the next home. Buyers don't price in a vacuum. They're using agents, and agents have the ability to do a CMA. And the offers are going to be based on what other homes have actually sold for, not what your seller needs to get for the house. Okay. And if you've got somebody that is just hell bent on, in order for me to move into my dream home, I need to net $500,000 on this house. Is Ami on the call? She's not. She's dealing with this with one of her sellers that's like, I need to get X. And it works both ways. Sellers who get a low offer, they don't care if the buyer says, but that's all I can pay. Right? So it has nothing to do with what you need to be able to net for the home. It has to do with what it is actually worth. You don't give a discount based on need, so don't expect a premium when you're the seller either. Does that resonate with anybody? I hope it does. All right, that's reason number 4, pricing based on what the sellers need. Okay. Falling in love with the AVM or the estimate. Okay, first off, what is AVM? Come on, somebody's got this. Oh, all right, I'll give it to you. AVM is the automated valuation model. Okay, it's a computer algorithm, if you will, similar to the Zestimate. The Zestimate is a computer algorithm. All right.
AVM is what again? Automated value what?
Automated valuation model. Okay, so when you're looking at Realtor.com's website or Zillow's website, Zillow has the Zestimate. It's what they think the home is probably worth, and AVM is the general term. Zestimate is a brand. It's Zillow's brand of their valuation model. AVM is more of a general term, automated valuation model. So in other words, it's a computer algorithm that it theoretically is looking for comparable homes around that neighborhood and using some very high level macroeconomic calculations and algorithms. It's telling you what the approximate value of the home is. Okay.
So will you compare this to like Knock and Ribbon? Sorry, when the Ribbon gives like a max value, is that automated value model?
No, that's not automated. They actually have, no kidding, people that are doing a market analysis on that home, and they are doing what is more accurately termed as a desktop appraisal. Okay, they're doing a no kidding appraisal on the home, but they're just doing it on their desktop, not physically going to the site like an appraiser would do. Okay.
Okay.
So if you haven't been around long enough to hear this, you will, as you start listing homes, you'll hear people that are like, oh, but my Zestimate says my home is worth $360 and you're telling me it's only worth $340. Well, there's an easy argument to that. Is Zestimates have a median error rate of 8%. If you've got somebody that is telling you, well, my Zestimate is worth that same argument, 360 versus you're selling me 340, it's very easy, and this is easy to look up and to Google this. The Zillow CEO, somebody named Spencer Raskoff, sold his own home for 40% less than the Zillow's estimate. Okay, so his Zillow's estimate was 1.75, but yet he sold it for only 1.05. If the CEO of Zillow himself can't trust his own estimate, what makes you think you can? All right. So that is a really easy way to shut somebody up They are telling you, but Zillow's estimate says my home is worth X. Okay. Your effectively done and accurately presented CMA is the biggest part of your value proposition to your seller. Okay. The easiest part of your job, I want you guys to see my face as I'm telling you. The easiest part of your job is the part where you're driving people around and opening doors and showing them pretty homes. Okay. Where your value comes into play is once they found the right home, once they found that perfect home, that's when your job really starts. Okay. Your job is to, one, do the analytics and the analysis behind what you present as an offer. Your job is negotiating the terms, presenting the offer, and negotiating all the details from contract to close. That is 95% of the value that you bring to the table in this equation. And don't let your clients forget about that. All right. Driving you around and opening doors, you are, during that stage of the environment, what Mike always says is true. You're a glorified Uber driver with a super key box on your phone. You do have value in that. You can point out things in the home. You can talk to them about, does this home meet all your goals and objectives? But your real work starts after they've said, yep, this is the one. I want to put an offer in on this one. All right. So don't discount your value proposition in this, and a big part of it is your CMA. Okay. All right. That was number 5. Let's talk about the number 6 reason that most people overprice when they're initially doing their listing, and that is anticipating the strong sellers market that we are in. A lot of people think that the agents will price it at the high end of the range of what they anticipate where they think the market will drive the price to. And the results of doing so are almost always disappointing. They typically result in longer days on the market, slower showing activity, and to be honest with you, it typically results in frustrated sellers. Okay, so what I'm talking about here is when you do a CMA and the price indicates that it should be somewhere between 225 and 250, and you price it at 250 or 260 in anticipation of where you think the market will drive that price to. Big mistake. If you price it at or below the market, it will drive intense buyer demand, and that can drive the price up to well over what your original asking price should have been in the first place. Okay. So a lot of sellers think, oh, I can price it at the high end of the range that you're recommending to me, and I'll just lower it later, and I'll be able to sell it the same way as if I priced it there initially, and that is a myth and a lie. Does not happen that way. All right. The 7th biggest mistake, and I'm right on time here, is the mistake that you make after you've set the original price, and that is after you've gone live, set it and forget it. In other words, you're not monitoring the market and the activity that is happening, and you're not monitoring the feedback, and you're not making changes to your marketing strategy. All right. So we never know. Our job is to try to predict what the market is going to dictate for the price of the house, but we never know exactly how it's going to react. So our job is to set it based off of your consultations with you and the seller, but also to continue to monitor it and make adjustments as you go. So you want to monitor the feedback from other agents and other buyers. You want to monitor the internet traffic report, i.e. in Century 21, it's called the Golden Ruler, to see how many people are hitting the house on all of the various websites. You want to show your client the traffic report, how many showings it's been getting, how many offers it's been getting, Have any of the comps in the same neighborhood sold since you've gone live with your house? All right. And what ended up happening to the buyers who came to look at your home? Right? So if you had 25 showings in the first week but no offers, you might want to go back to, as a listing agent, you might want to go back to those showing agents and say, hey, did your clients end up finding a home? Because we're about to do a price reduction. Okay. Here's the script that works in so many different ways. In this seller's market, our goal should be 3 to 5 showings per week. And for every 10 to 15 showings, we should receive an offer. All right. If you are not meeting these goals, 3 to 5 showings per week and 10 to 15 showings, for every 10 to 15 showings, we should receive an offer. Then the market is sending us a message, and the message is we've overpriced the house. All right. And this is key. Price reductions, when you are a listing agent, they're not given to you by the seller. They have to be earned. So you have to go back and you have to show them the mistakes that we made when we initially priced the house, show them what the feedback has been, show them what the traffic report has been and the showing activity has been, show them the comps in the neighborhood that have sold for lower than where they're at. Then you can earn the right to reduce the price later in the transaction. Okay. And the best way to earn that is through data. And I'm going to show you, the last slide on here is to show you a really good piece of data. All right. This is an FMLS report that everybody on this call can easily access. It is right in the FMLS homepage under reports, and it is called the area list report versus the original list price change summary. Okay, this is a great data point, but let's say you've got a client that lives in area 14, which is Roswell. Okay, this area where we currently live. What you're looking at is 2 columns. This one section, sorry guys. This one section, the original price has been changed on the left column, and the original price was not changed. So what this shows for area 14, which is the area around Roswell, there were 531 homes that priced initially a little bit high because they ended up changing their original list price and reducing the original list price. Okay, so the average sales price in area 14 was $603,000. But the sales price to the original list price ratio, the sellers had to drop their price significantly in order to get that sales price. And the days on the market was 64 days. Okay, now let's look at the people that theoretically priced their home correctly. So 1,770 agents versus the 503 priced the home correctly. The average days on the market was only 17 days versus 64. Look at the difference in the sales price, 603,000 versus 604,000. And look at the sales price to the original list price ratio. When you price the home accurately, one, you don't end up earning less, you end up earning more, 603 versus 604. Plus they ended up getting it over asking price, 1.18% over the asking price. Okay, so one, they made more money, they made a higher percentage of their original asking price, and they did it in 17 days versus 64 days. That's pretty telling, don't you think? So all you have to do is price the home appropriate to the market that we're in, and the law of supply and demand will come into play, and you will be absolutely shocked at how quickly a price can be driven up. All right, what do y'all think? Does that resonate? Okay, You know what? Let me show you something real quick. I'll show you how to get to this report if you ever need it. Share my screen. I'm going to share this one. Y'all looking at my desktop right now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So when you are within Matrix, you go to the FMLS homepage. FMLS, here we go. I will do your survey later. Reports, statistical reports. And it is this report right here. Hang on, I'm gonna find it. Property sold, listings, days on the market. Tell me they didn't take my report off of here. Y'all, they've changed the reporting.
It's not in the market stats, is it? Is it definitely in the statistical?
I always thought it was, but hang on. You might be right. Nope. Well, that's just going to frustrate me. Here I am just fat, dumb, and happy thinking I know exactly where to get this. That for February. I wonder if they've got January's. You know what, y'all? I'm gonna have to check on this, but I will get back to you for sure in the next couple of days to show you where that report is at. Okay. I think when they change the area, because that report is based off of FMLS areas, maybe they've taken that report out, which I just showed you something that we may or may not be able to use. Bear with me, I'll figure it out, all right? Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. I've ran over time. If you have any questions or any specifics on anything, let me know. I'm here.